Hello there folks, this is Ferenj on board again, this time with a video on a topic that I really like and I think it is high time I actually debated on it. The topic of this video is living life in reverse, which is kind of what's happening and what has always been happening throughout our history. And well, I will actually try to focus from the beginning on the fact that it's all part of this experiment called life, and well, it has a lot to do with the aspect of manipulation. When the plans for this universe were created so that souls could experience more or less, or well, I prefer calling them consciousnesses because for some reason I don't resonate well with the word soul. The point is, well, there had to be a set of rules that were created so that entities would go through different processes of learning. And usually you get to learn a lot when you fight against your own self, because that's what basically happens with all of us. Our greatest advantage, you know, when we are comparing ourselves with animals is that we have a discerning mind. And this discerning mind is actually our greatest strength, but can also be our greatest weakness depending on how trained it is. Now, of course, as any other race that evolves and well is given the chance towards evolution, the point is when you start upon the quest of gaining consciousness, okay, and awareness, the point is that your environment will always seek, you know, will always be dominant and will always overwhelm you, because simply no matter how much you work you cannot beat your environment. Its vibration will always be higher than yours. Well, not necessarily higher vibrationally speaking, but it will be stronger, let's say. So if you are living in an environment that doesn't suit you, mainly surrounded by people who pull you down, the point is that, well, you should consider moving and most likely surround yourself with people that can support you. Now, the point with living in reverse is actually, part of manipulation, because manipulation is also nothing else than a teacher. Now, living life in reverse is a form of cancer because, well, what cancer spiritually is, well, means when a part of you is turning against your own self. So basically, when you turn against your own self, it's still somewhat of a sort of cancer. Now, couple it with a lot of pain, with a lot of hatred, with a lot of negative emotion that gets stuffed inside, because no one teaches you to release your emotions but keep them inside, because if you do, you're gonna be seen as some weakling. The point is, yes, it can actually manifest as cancer at a physical level. Now, the point with this is, you see, cancer is actually something that has been existing ever since we appeared, because cancer is a way of the body committing self-destruct. If you keep telling yourself enough that you're not worthy and you need to die, it's like committing to apoptosis, or what many cells in the body do, because they know that if they burst, they are going to be damaging, okay, they are going to be harmful to other cells, so they prefer calling to apoptosis, which is a self-destruct sequence, which means they will perish by their own accord. Well, in our bodies, in the human bodies and the animal bodies, when a cell needs to die, usually they will send out a message. They will send a message that they will change their insides, and well, in a way they will start emitting a code as if they are enemy cells, okay, so that the macrophages, the defender cells, come and destroy them by, well, eating them. So the point is, living in reverse can have a lot of well, unpleasant conscious manifestations. Now, these manifestations can well be chosen, okay, to be experienced, because, well, we all come here to experience. Now, why we do? Well, we need to develop ourselves as entities, okay, as bits of consciousness, and to experience in the name of consciousness. So consider this life as a kind of a game in which whatever you do, you kind of have to understand that, well, whatever you are taught, you have to understand that your only power in this world is your discerning mind. And you have to understand that, well, whatever you are taught may be useful or not, but what if you actually start asking the questions, well, the what if questions, okay? These represent a discerning mind, and, well, more so than that, they show that you are not going to easily fall for everything, because that's what manipulation is about. It's about turning others against their own selves, because, you know, there are rules of consciousness that say you cannot become the ruler of other entities, okay? But, well, through use of manipulation, you can actually have them accept you as their ruler, so this way you bypass the rule of freedom. Now, living life in reverse is a way that we as humans have been taught, and, you know, it really doesn't matter what happens in the end to the body, because you're gonna use it and you're gonna lose it anyways. So many people have come here and have experienced numerous lives, have experienced possibly even hundreds or thousands, and they most likely come again and again in order to experience, well, in the name of consciousness, or they choose to simply go in other dimensions and experience in the name of consciousness in those universes as well. Now, the point with living life in reverse is basically everything that you do is more or less turned against yourself. Every time you have bad emotions, you are taught to keep them inside because you must not let them go. The only reason you are feeling emotions is because you already have too much of those, and, well, crying is the natural way of the body to release them, but, well, again, you are seen as a weakling if you cry, especially if you are a male. Now, everything also is, you know, more or less oriented against you, but unfortunately many people still live in the illusion that, you know, society would actually even care about them, which is kind of far away from the truth, and, well, will never be alright, okay? Because in the end, this is a game in which you play, let's call it like a multiplayer. Most people are like NPCs in a way, because they have a very low awareness, but in a way they also serve their own purpose, okay? They do serve their own purpose because, well, they have to learn things on their own, and they need a very low awareness in also to teach others, in turn to also teach others what they chose to do. Because the lower your awareness, the less capable you are to realize how much damage you're causing to others. But in the end, that damage is caused to the physical body, and, well, to the physical body only, to the emotional body, and once those are lost, okay, the consciousness being now free again, the point is, well, it can actually accumulate those, because it all depends on how attached people become towards these emotions and, well, events in their life that happen, okay? Every time something happens, people will end up generalizing, and they create false expectations, and unfortunately they fall for them. This is always going to work well with people that have lower awareness, and of course that have untrained minds and who don't know what emotions truly are. Now, living life in reverse can be, well, in all sorts and sizes and shapes, and basically everything you do is more or less related to this. Everything you'd want to do is bad, everything you feel is good for you is bad, because, you see, true happiness and the truth are always found within you. Now, the reason why there is no such thing as a universal truth is, well, there is no such thing as a universal truth. Now, surely there are some truths, let's say, that could be taken scientifically as you know, universal. Like, for example, you have water that boils and freezes at the same temperatures, but come again, that is not a universal truth, because, you see, when you say universal, people have reduced the term of this to the point of our planet, and worse than that, to the point of their own perception. So people with low perceptions and, you know, awareness, they will consider things general based on their specific low awareness, and, you know, most people just live in their homes. They don't do much, they just go out every now and then, and, you know, they watch the television. So basically their whole world is, you know, as much as they can see through the window. Now when you speak about something universal, it's something that applies to the whole universe, not necessarily to our planet. Science is very wrong in here because it attributes aspects of our planet to the whole universe, and most people actually fall for that, and that is why I see astronomy and, well, generally science as major distractions. If you want to find answers, you have to become introspective, and depending on each person's degree of spiritual background, let's say, they can actually have more or less surprising results. Each person is, well, has come here to see, perceive, and understand their own truths, because that is one of the reasons why we come here. You require to go through a lot of hell to understand the heavenly aspects of yourself. Okay, it's until you fall into the depths of hell is, well, until then you kind of forget that you actually have the angel wings that you can use to simply lift yourself to higher dimensions. Okay, and yes, angel wing symptoms are also something that can happen to people, usually when they are in situation that they are half asleep, half awake, when they open up a bit more towards the astral realms, and when they finally get a grasp of the fact that they are more than just this physical body. So the purpose of this game is to give power to some entities. These would be the guiding entities, and these entities, having so much introspection and power, their purpose is to create all sorts of rules and blockages for people to experience in the name of consciousness. Now again, these folks and abnormal, paranormal, whatever you want to call them, entities, well, their purpose is to help us, well, to teach us in one way or another. They have been granted power, but also they have been granted, well, a lot of awareness, and, well, they kind of have to vibrate at a lower frequency, because through that they can induce a lot of pain to humanity. Okay, now the purpose why they will do this is, again, the purpose of teaching, because don't forget that in the end nothing else happens than some pain on the body. Now worse than that, in many cases it can be that, well, untrained minds usually identify themselves with literally everything they go through. So it's enough for many people that something bad happens and they will identify with that, like, for each and every time. Now this can be very harmful in a way to the consciousness, but it can be something that spirits, that consciousness, okay, that facet of consciousness chose to experience. So therefore, as a result, they most likely will be prepared. Okay, when an entity consciousness, okay, gains a lot of karma through all of these, because karma is nothing else than memory. The point is, every time you accept things and you attach yourself to such illusions, the point is that you gain these so-called memory, okay, or you can call it karma if you want. It has been denaturated in time, so I just prefer calling it memory. Okay, the more memory you acquire, the denser you become, and, well, if you become truly dense, usually this can happen in case of, like, deep intense traumas like mass suicides and the such. There is a lot of accumulated memory of pain, and that can actually manifest itself almost physically, because the harmful thoughts that were generated then, the fears that were generated, the most likely created, well, not necessarily conscious thoughts, but at least unconscious thoughts that actually become living beings. They're not living beings in the sense of flesh, but they can linger in there, and people who are more empathetic, more capable of otherworldly perceptions, they can actually get contacted by such thoughts, or, well, in the worst case scenarios, those thoughts will automatically attach themselves or seek to attach themselves to highly vibrational people. The reason why that happens is, well, they need positivity to exist, and, well, any bit of existence, be it conscious or unconscious, will always seek to evolve, and the moment it feels something good, something better, okay, like good in the sense that it is good for it specifically, not necessarily good in general, well, they will automatically tend towards that. That is why lower vibrational entities, instead of improving themselves, will seek to piggyback people who are on their awakening journeys, because it's much easier to ride someone on their way to heaven instead of actually doing the work. Okay, it instantly feels good, so it's also instant gratification. It's the same principle that lower vibrational people use. They prefer doing the easy thing, which is being lazy and accept things the way they are, instead of actually working towards themselves. It's the same actual principle. You see, though, if you learn how parasites function, you can actually understand, you can actually deduct their existence by simply watching people's behaviors. Because when let's say if a pig will be capable of let's say inhabit your body, okay, it's suddenly in a human body, but it will still act as a pig. Okay, so you kind of can deduct that the consciousness of that pig will actually seek to replicate its own sounds, okay, even if they are in a human body and they can do much more. Okay, like any animal you put into a human body, they will still react instinctively because they don't have a discerning mind. Some of the animals may have, but it's much easier to use instincts, okay, because it is much simpler, it is much easier. Okay, and usually the way animals exist is basically on these instincts. Okay, now they might have a discerning mind to a certain extent, but it is humans who were chosen in this world, and it is chosen for humans to be so. It's not that humans were by some kind of right of superiority have become the more advanced entities. Okay, so let's not consider ourselves above animals. Let's not forget that having a discerning mind can be a great weakness as well, because look at us, we usually live lives that are worse and much more miserable than animals. Animals might have a simple mind and might act basically and only on instincts, but in the end, why would they even need more than that, right? So the point with this is, living life in reverse is a way of teaching, a way of learning, but it can be very damaging to your own consciousness. Okay, it can be very unpleasant, and usually this happens, you start realizing this as you start awakening. Okay, as you start opening yourself more to the other realms of your existence, because sooner or later this is bound to happen, and no, it's not gonna be a pleasant ride. Okay, now, although I didn't touch the subject of reverse existence that much, again, it serves as a kind of introduction. It has a lot to do with manipulation, but I'm not interested in diving in manipulation in this video, because I'm not interested in demonizing manipulation. And as you probably might not know, I am a person who will never ever join a certain side, especially for personal benefits, because this is something that I've usually been like. At times it is needed, yes, to join a person's side, or I don't know, a group's side, but usually I prefer to do it the least possible, because the moment you join something, you kind of start ceding your own power, and I'm interested in preserving myself, and well as discovering as much as possible of my own potential. Now, if you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe. Now, at least share, because that's what would be more important for me. At least share this with your friends, so that they can actually learn as well, and we can actually together help the planet improve their own its own vibration, as well as people's own vibration, because the planet is evolving at her own pace. Now, this all being said, remember, you are loved and appreciated. Your guides and angels are waiting for your help, for you to signal a need of help. Okay, and this can be done in several ways. Now, I'm gonna wrap this video for now. It's been a pleasure delivering. Ferenc Jan Bord signing out.